if I told you that the most beautiful gardens aren't built with money, but with imagination? That the things most people throw away, bottles, cans, broken cups, could become the heart of your backyard? Stay with me for the next few minutes, and I'll show you how trash can bloom into treasure. Welcome to Nest Nature, a place where creativity meets sustainability. In this video, we'll explore DIY trash garden ideas, simple, colorful, and realistic designs you can create in any small space. You'll find timestamps below to jump straight to the ideas you love most. And if you have questions or want to share your version, drop a comment. I read them all. If this inspires you, don't just watch, create. Use what you already have, start where you are, and let your hands bring new life to forgotten things. Maybe to you, I'm just another voice behind a screen. But behind this content lies a real story, and a small family chasing a dream. This isn't just another video, it's a piece of my heart. Every like, every comment, every subscribe, they keep this dream alive. When you choose to subscribe, you're not just supporting a creator. You're giving hope to a family who believes that beauty can grow from nothing. Thank you for being here. Thank you for seeing me. In a quiet corner of a small patio, sunlight filters gently through a lattice of ivy, painting golden freckles across a tower of recycled tin cans. Once dull and forgotten in a dusty garage, these humble metal cylinders now stand reborn, each brushed with strokes of pastel joy. Pink blush, sky blue, soft mint, and a hint of lavender shimmer under the morning sun, creating a rhythm of color that hums with new life. Every can blooms like a tiny universe. The top holds white chrysanthemums that sway lightly in the breeze. Below them, purple asters burst with energy, their petals like laughter frozen in color. Lower still, cheerful marigolds spill golden light down the tower's edge, and at its roots, sedum autumn joy glows like coral against green moss. Together they form a living sculpture, a vertical garden that whispers the beauty of rebirth. Nearby, the wooden fence wears vines of jasmine, and a chipped watering can waits patiently, its silver surface reflecting the flower's gentle hues. A small bird lands for a moment on the edge of a can, tilting its head as if admiring the creation. Even the air feels different here, light, fragrant, and full of small sounds, bees humming, leaves brushing, and somewhere, soft laughter echoing from a neighboring yard. What was once trash has become poetry in metal form. The simplicity of the design, can stacked carefully with love, transforms a small patio into a sanctuary. It doesn't ask for perfection, it celebrates imperfection. Each brushstroke, each reused can, tells a quiet story of care, patience, and imagination. It's a reminder that beauty doesn't demand grandeur, only attention. As evening falls, the tower of blooms catches the last rays of light, shimmering like a candle in the dusk. It stands not as a decoration, but as a gentle manifesto that every object, like every heart, deserves a second chance to bloom. In the smallest corners of the earth, beauty blooms where imagination dares to look. Along the narrow edge of a tiny yard, a trail of bright colors glimmers in the sunlight, not from gemstones or glass, but from the humblest of things, old plastic bottles, reshaped into petals. Their surfaces gleam like dew, kissed by morning light, forming a cheerful border that dances between the soil and the sky. Each bottle once held something forgettable, a drink, a moment, a passing use, yet now it guards a bed of living color. Red and blue bottles have been reborn as flower-shaped edging, their curved edges soft like real petals. A gentle brush of paint turns waste into wonder. The earth beneath welcomes their second life, cradling them beside marigolds and asters that burst with life, their roots curling in gratitude. It's a simple craft, yet magical in its transformation. A passerby might think it's child's play, too easy, too quaint, but when sunlight meets those transparent curves, the yard glows like stained glass. The reflections scatter over chrysanthemums, touching each bloom with borrowed light. Even the bees pause as if to admire the artistry born from what was once discarded. The air carries scents of herbs and damp soil. Nearby, a bamboo fence hums softly in the breeze. It feels almost as though the garden itself is proud of its newfound edges, no longer confined by dull borders, but dressed in joy. The edging guides the eye gently, shaping the space without walls or limits, reminding everyone that creativity thrives most where there is little room to spare. As twilight deepens, the painted bottles glow faintly in the last orange light. The flowers lean toward them, their silhouettes merging, living petals beside painted ones. There's a quiet harmony here, an understanding between human hands and nature's patience. This is what happens when imagination and care meet. Trash becomes treasure, and a tiny yard becomes a world of color. Along the rustic fence of a small backyard, color flutters even when there is no wind. Dozens of tiny dragonflies rest upon the wooden planks, not made of wings or silk, but from discarded bottle caps, once dull and forgotten. Now they shimmer like stained jewels under the gentle light of the afternoon sun. Their metal wings catch every ray, glinting turquoise and lilac, whispering stories of transformation. Each dragonfly is different, each imperfectly beautiful. Some wings bear the marks of brushes, painted with care, others show soft streaks of gold or sea green, like sunlight caught on water. They hover between art and nature, born from human hands, yet blending effortlessly into the living garden around them. Beneath their shimmering forms, marigolds open in gold and asters stretch toward the sky, their blooms reflected on the fence like a painter's dream. The old fence itself has become a canvas, rough wood meeting recycled metal in a symphony of color. Where nails once rusted, now bright caps sparkle. Where cracks once showed, dragonflies rest, turning flaws into features. The garden hums with quiet life, bees hovering close, the gentle rustle of leaves, the faint sound of laughter drifting through open windows. Every detail feels alive, touched by sunlight and intent. There is something deeply human in this, the urge to create, to transform, to find meaning in the overlooked. These dragonflies remind us that beauty doesn't have to be born perfect. Sometimes, it's built from the remnants of ordinary things, reborn through imagination. The hands that shaped them have woven new life into the backyard, just as nature does every spring. As twilight approaches, the dragonflies glow faintly against the fence, reflecting the golden pink hues of the setting sun. They look almost real, poised for flight, ready to escape into the air. But they stay, loyal to their wooden world, silent witnesses to a garden that thrives on hope and reinvention. And so, even as night falls, the fence no longer feels old or worn. It breathes. It shines. It lives, proof that even the smallest act of creation can bring light to forgotten corners. Under the weathered beams of a cottage pergola, sunlight dances between climbing roses and ivy leaves, tracing patterns of warmth upon a row of hanging porcelain cups. Once part of forgotten tea sets, chipped, mismatched, and tucked away in old cupboards, they now sway gently in the breeze, reborn as bird feeders that sing with life. Each cup tells a story of past gatherings, of laughter and quiet mornings long gone. Now, instead of tea, they hold small seeds, humble offerings for the sparrows, finches, and robins that visit each day. The birds hop from one cup to another, their feathers brushing against delicate porcelain painted with roses and vines. A small saucer catches stray crumbs below, glimmering softly in the morning sun. It is a simple sight, yet deeply poetic, an invitation for nature to share in the rituals of home. Beneath the pergola, the air is thick with fragrance from marigolds and chrysanthemums. Their blossoms reach upward, blending with the pastel tones of the cups above. The soft hum of bees mingles with birdsong, and for a brief moment, time itself seems to pause. Around this tiny sanctuary, the patio stones are warm to the touch, sprinkled with petals and seed husks. Every detail feels intentional, though born from spontaneity. The act of turning a broken teacup into a home for a bird is both gentle and bold, a reminder that beauty can come from care, not cost. As the afternoon deepens, light filters through the vines like liquid gold. The hanging cups cast shadows shaped like hearts upon the wooden posts. A robin lands quietly, pecking at a saucer before glancing at its reflection in the glazed surface, as if admiring this small world humans have crafted with love. When dusk settles, the pergola glows softly under string lights. The cups sway faintly, whispering in porcelain tones, their floral patterns catching the last trace of amber sunlight. They stand as symbols of renewal, the art of giving old things new purpose, and of finding joy in the smallest, most fleeting forms of life. At the edge of a farmhouse garden, where gravel meets soil and sunlight glides across weathered wood, a row of painted tin planters stretches like a line of cheerful soldiers. Once dull containers of soup and coffee, they now stand reborn, bright, proud, and full of life. Each one wears its own color like a memory. Soft sage whispering of calm mornings, pale rose recalling sunsets, sky blue mirroring the clear horizon. Their surfaces still bear the faint traces of hand-painted brush strokes, imperfect yet full of warmth. Some display tiny floral motifs, others bear words of joy, grow, bloom, breathe. Together they form a border that feels both crafted and organic, gently framing a bed of marigolds and chrysanthemums whose colors spill beyond the tins like laughter too big to contain. The scent of earth mingles with rosemary and thyme planted between them. Bees hum lazily around sedum autumn joy, while a robin hops between tins, inspecting each one like an old friend. The soft creak of the farmhouse door echoes from afar, and the garden sways with life, every leaf, every color caught in the rhythm of the breeze. These tin planters tell a quiet story of second chances. They were once discarded, unseen, but a few strokes of paint and a gardener's touch turned them into vessels of beauty. Their charm lies not in perfection, but in honesty, in the visible fingerprints of creation. The farmhouse aesthetic doesn't try to hide the past, it celebrates it, blending the worn with the wonderful. As dusk settles, the light deepens into gold, brushing the tins with a soft glow. The painted edges gleam against the soil like jewelry in the dirt. They have become more than just containers. They are storytellers, each one carrying a history, a splash of color, a whisper of human hands. In their quiet way, they teach us something simple, that beauty, when made with care, doesn't fade. It grows, between the cracks, inside the soil, and in the heart of anyone who takes a moment to see. In the heart of a humble backyard, color dances with the wind. Sunlight glints off spinning petals made from old plastic bottles, each one cut and painted by hand. What once held water now holds joy, swirling, shimmering, alive. The air hums softly as the windflowers turn, their motion weaving a quiet song between the blooms of asters and marigolds. Every petal is unique. Some are translucent and tinted in pale pink, catching the sun like glass. Others glow in solid hues, cheerful yellows, coral reds, sky blues. Their stems, slender and flexible, sway easily with the rhythm of the breeze. Together they form a living sculpture, a garden orchestra where movement replaces melody. Children love them first. They chase the spinning colors, laughing as the petals blur into rainbows. Yet even the grown-ups pause, drawn by something deeper, the poetry of simple beauty reborn from waste. There's a strange grace in how these bottle flowers capture both light and time, turning something disposable into something enduring. The garden around them seems to embrace their presence. Bees drift nearby, mistaking them for real blossoms. Butterflies linger, curious about this new kind of bloom. Beneath their motion, sedum autumn joy blushes under sunlight, and the scent of herbs mingles with the faint plastic sweetness of paint warmed by the sun. This is not just decoration, it's transformation in motion. The creator's hands, guided by patience and playfulness, have given trash a second life, one that spins endlessly with the seasons. When wind rushes through the yard, the flowers dance wildly, their colors flashing like laughter. When the air stills, they rest, frozen mid-motion, yet full of promise. As twilight falls, the setting sun paints the plastic petals in liquid gold. Their shadows stretch long across the garden, flickering as the last wind sighs through the fence. And in that quiet moment, one realizes, even the simplest things can hold the universe of wonder, if we only choose to see it differently. Here, in this backyard filled with motion and meaning, recycled bottles have found their purpose again, not as containers, but as symbols of renewal. They bloom not from soil, but from imagination. In the gentle heart of a small cottage garden, the ground itself becomes a canvas. A winding pathway, built from bamboo and bottle caps, weaves its way through blooms and whispers, a story told not in words, but in color and rhythm. Each step feels like walking through a mosaic dream, where nature and imagination meet underfoot. The bamboo discs, polished by hand, glow honeygold beneath the sun. Between them, bottle caps shimmer like jewels, blues from old soda lids, reds from forgotten jars, greens from tonics long gone. Once tossed aside, they now rest proudly within the earth, forming spirals, petals, and abstract dances that catch every passerby's gaze. A barefoot step upon this path feels grounding yet uplifting. The slight unevenness, the mix of textures, the way light flickers between gaps, it's alive, imperfect, and perfectly human. The path doesn't just lead somewhere, it tells you something. That beauty can be built from fragments, and joy can be assembled from what others discard. The flowers lean over it as if admiring their reflection, marigolds bowing in yellow delight, chrysanthemums brushing against the bamboo edges, asters dotting the sides like stars fallen to earth. Bees hum above, tracing invisible paths between petals and color spots. The scene feels both rustic and refined, a quiet masterpiece of patience and creativity. Evening arrives, and the mosaic catches the low golden light. The bamboo gleams, and the caps sparkle as though holding drops of sunset. The pathway doesn't just decorate, it transforms space into emotion. It feels like walking through a memory of childhood, simple, bright, full of wonder. In a world obsessed with newness, this tiny garden whispers the opposite truth. Renewal lies not in buying, but in seeing. A bottle cap can become a gem, a piece of bamboo, a frame for art. Every object, when treated with care, holds its own kind of grace. As twilight fades, the mosaic grows quiet, merging into the cool earth. Tomorrow, when morning dew returns, it will shine again, a path of color leading not only through the garden, but into the heart of imagination itself. When evening folds gently over the garden, light finds new ways to bloom. Beneath the quiet arch of a wooden pergola, a soft glow flickers from an unlikely source, a row of old cups, reborn as lanterns. Each one hangs by a string of twine, swaying lightly in the evening breeze. Their porcelain surfaces catch the flame, painting the patio with trembling warmth. Once, these cups held morning tea and whispered secrets over gentle clinks of spoons. Now they cradle light, the kind that feels alive, the kind that doesn't shout but hums. The flickering candles inside breathe through small holes, creating speckled shadows across the bamboo fence. It's as if the night itself is wearing jewelry made of light. Around the patio, flowers seem to glow from within. Marigolds take on the hue of fire, asters blush violet under amber light, and sedum autumn joy shines like coral caught in moonlight. Even the herbs, rosemary, mint, thyme, release a faint fragrance, stirred by the movement of air and flame. This corner of the garden feels suspended in time. The hum of distant crickets becomes music, the faint rustle of leaves a rhythm. The cups, once forgotten in a dusty cabinet, have found their voice again, not through words, but through light. Their mismatched patterns and faded gold rims make each one distinct, a small story of age and endurance. There is a humble kind of romance here, the sort that doesn't need perfection. A chipped edge, a bit of wax dripping down the handle, a crack that glimmers when the candle burns low, all these flaws glow like truth. The patio feels human, lived in, loved. As night deepens, the last light catches on the rim of a blue cup, sending one final shimmer into the garden. The wind sighs, and the flames flicker low, resting but never fading. In that silence, you realize, beauty isn't always something you find. Sometimes, it's something you light, one cup, one flame, one quiet evening at a time. The sound of the breeze carries a faint scent of salt and freedom. Even far from the shore, the little garden feels kissed by the sea, its wall alive with tin fish that shimmer like dreams caught in daylight. Once dull sheets of metal, cut from discarded cans, now gleam with oceanic grace, swimming silently across the painted blue fence. Each fish tells a different story. Some glint silver with scales hammered by hand, others glow coral red, turquoise, or soft yellow, as if the sea itself had lent them color. Bottle caps overlap as scales, catching the light like ripples on water. They seem to move when the wind blows, a school of metallic life, forever mid-swim through waves of air. Around them, marigolds and asters bloom in bright defiance of the soil's boundary, echoing the palate of the painted fish. Driftwood edges the flowerbeds like pieces of old ships, and smooth pebbles lie beneath like forgotten seashells. It's a small space, yet every inch feels like an artist's reverie, a garden transformed into a seascape memory. When sunlight hits the tin, the wall shimmers. The reflections dance across leaves and petals, creating the illusion of water even where there is none. A robin perches atop one of the fish, curious, perhaps fooled by their lifelike gleam. The moment feels alive, a playful dialogue between man, metal, and nature. In the evening, when the air cools and shadows stretch long, the fish still glow faintly, storing the warmth of the day. The gardener watches from the patio, hands dusted with paint, smiling softly. What began as trash became a story, one shaped by patience, paint, and imagination. The seascape garden hums with quiet pride. It doesn't try to mimic the ocean, it remembers it, through color, shape, and rhythm. In every tin fish, there's a whisper of waves, a memory of freedom, a gentle reminder that beauty often begins with what we choose to save. And so the wall stands, bright against the twilight, not just as art, but as a living horizon, where dreams made of metal forever swim toward light. In a quiet corner of the backyard, magic hides in plain sight. Among blossoms and moss, tiny homes made from teacups rest like secrets waiting to be discovered. Once chipped and forgotten in kitchen drawers, these old cups now cradle dreams, each turned into a fairy house with patience, paint, and a touch of whimsy. The first cup leans slightly, its handle now a graceful chimney. A tiny wooden door has been carved into its side, framed by moss and bark. Another cup sits upside down, its saucer serving as a roof, dotted with small stones that glisten under the sun. Each house is unique, each imperfectly perfect, the kind of beauty only imagination can build. Around them, asters sway like gentle neighbors, and marigolds glow with soft golden light. Sedum autumn joy creeps along the edge, adding a blush of pink beneath the green canopy. The air smells of damp soil and flowers, while butterflies drift lazily above, perhaps curious about these new houses that have sprouted from porcelain and moss. Children often stop to look, believing fairies live there. Adults smile quietly, remembering the joy of small wonders. The garden, once ordinary, now hums with quiet life, not loud or grand, but tender and intimate. The teacups have become storytellers, each whispering of transformation, how something fragile and forgotten can hold worlds of imagination. As the sun begins to set, light filters through the leaves, scattering over the tiny roofs and mossy steps. Shadows stretch softly, and the fairy houses glow in the warm twilight, like lanterns of another world. Crickets begin their chorus, and the breeze carries the faint scent of thyme and jasmine. It feels timeless here. The smallness of it all makes the world seem vast again. You can almost hear the laughter of unseen wings, the faint clink of porcelain turned into dreams. And as night settles in, the garden breathes, alive with stories, colors, and the quiet truth that magic doesn't live far away. It lives in the spaces we tend with love, in the objects we choose to give a second life. Even an old teacup, when placed in a garden, can become a doorway to wonder. The old fence stood grey and weary, its boards cracked by seasons of wind and sun. Yet one afternoon, colour began to creep across it, first then a circle, then a field of blossoms that would never fade. Bottle caps, once tossed away without thought, had found a new story to tell on this farmhouse wall. Each cap holds a memory of something ordinary, a shared drink, a family meal, a summer picnic. Now, brushed clean and painted in bright hues of red, turquoise, sunflower yellow, and white, they bloom again, not as trash, but as art. The gardener pressed them one by one into the wood, arranging petals from colors, vines from curves, building a garden within a garden. Under the afternoon light, the fence glows softly. Marigolds and chrysanthemums below echo its palette, their petals mirrored in the painted caps above. The air smells of soil and honey. Bees drift lazily between the real flowers and their tin reflections. A light wind runs along the fence line, setting a faint clicking sound, plastic on wood, a quiet applause for transformation. Neighbors stop to stare, drawn by the strange beauty of it. It's simple yet magnetic, a handmade mosaic born from patience and play. The rough wood and smooth caps create a contrast that feels alive, rustic, and deeply human. Every imperfection, every uneven space adds character. The fence no longer guards the garden, it joins it, turning boundary into beauty. As evening slides in, the sunset paints everything in gold. The bottle caps shimmer as if lit from within, catching the day's last warmth. Their colors soften, blending into the glow of the horizon. What was once discarded now celebrates the light, proving that even the humblest materials can hold joy when touched by creative hands. The farmhouse fence stands renewed, no longer a backdrop, but a storyteller. Its message is quiet but clear. Beauty isn't about what you own, but what you make of what remains. In a garden where space is scarce but dreams are tall, a new kind of green tower rises, not of stone or steel, but of tin. Old drums, once used to store paint or oil, now cradle life. They stand proudly in a quiet corner of a small patio, painted in soft farmhouse shades of cream, sage, and sky blue. The sun glides gently over their curved surfaces, making the colors hum with quiet joy. Each drum brims with herbs. The top spills mint that shimmers in the light, its scent mingling with the sweetness of nearby marigolds. Below it, rosemary stretches upward, thin and elegant, brushing against the edges of the tin. At the base, thyme creeps outward like a green waterfall, its leaves tiny but full of fragrance. Together they form a vertical orchestra, layers of texture, scent, and life. The air feels alive here. Bees float lazily between chrysanthemums and lavender. A faint clink echoes when the wind brushes the drums, a metallic whisper, a reminder of what these objects once were. There's beauty in their endurance. Metal that once held chemicals now holds creation, turning the story of waste into renewal. For the gardener, this tower is not just decoration. It's a rhythm of daily care, watering, trimming, touching the soil. Every leaf holds purpose, every scent reminds them that nature finds a way to bloom, even in the narrowest corners. And somehow, these old tin drums seem to stand a little taller each day, as if proud of their new life. As evening falls, the herb tower glows beneath the last rays of the sun, surrounded by flowers that sway in soft gold light. The painted surfaces gleam faintly, each imperfection made beautiful by the brush of time. The garden exhales a fragrance both wild and domestic, a melody of mint and earth. It's a simple thing, yet profound, proof that a tiny space can still grow abundance, and that even the most ordinary materials can become vessels of life. The drums stand like gentle giants of the garden, symbols of renewal, resilience, and quiet grace. When night unfolds in a whisper, light becomes poetry. In this quiet garden, small lanterns fashioned from old metal cans shimmer like fireflies caught in still air. Each one carries the spirit of wabi-sabi, beauty found in imperfection, a truth whispered through their pierced surfaces and gentle glow. Once forgotten containers of oil and tea, the cans now hang like jewels beneath bamboo beams. Patterns of waves, cherry blossoms, and crescent moons are cut into their sides with careful hands. As dusk deepens, candlelight escapes through every tiny hole, painting the gravel path with moving constellations. It feels as if the stars have descended to rest among the herbs. Around them, the garden breathes in silence. Japanese anemones sway beside the lantern light, their white petals reflecting gold. A soft breeze stirs the bamboo chimes, their hollow notes drift across the patio, merging with the flicker of flame. The air smells faintly of earth and mint, a scent that belongs to both dusk and memory. There's something meditative about this transformation. Metal once cold and industrial now holds warmth, purpose, and grace. Each can bears the marks of its past, dents, scratches, faint traces of color, yet these flaws become its character, its proof of endurance. In the glow of the lanterns, they are no longer reminders of use, but of renewal. The gardener sits nearby, barefoot on the stone step, watching light tremble upon the bamboo fence. No grand gesture, no machinery, just hands, patience, and the quiet art of noticing. As the night grows deeper, the lanterns burn softly, their reflections rippling across the stones like moonlight on water. Eventually, when the candles fade and darkness returns, the warmth lingers. It rests on the air, in the soil, in the heart of anyone who has seen them. The garden doesn't end here. It breathes again tomorrow, every lantern waiting to be lit, every shadow ready to dance. In these humble metal forms, the essence of simplicity shines, light born from the discarded, peace born from creation, beauty born from the act of seeing anew. At the edge of a small garden, where sunlight spills through vines and laughter seems to linger in the air, a doorway shimmers. It isn't made of silk or beads but of light itself, captured and refracted through hundreds of tiny petals cut from plastic bottles. Each piece, once destined for the bin, now dances like a jewel in the wind. The garland curtains sway beneath the pergola arch, their colors shifting with the day. In morning light they glow pale and dewy, by afternoon they blaze with warmth, at dusk they blush gold and lavender. The air moves through them, making a soft clinking sound, a melody of glass that isn't glass, delicate yet full of life. Every strand tells a story of transformation. A bottle once held water, now it holds color. Once it quenched thirst, now it feeds wonder. The gardener threaded each piece by hand, shaping petals and leaves, painting translucent shades that echo the flowers blooming below. Marigolds mirror the orange fragments, asters echo the blues, and the whole pergola seems to breathe in harmony. Visitors pause beneath the curtain, momentarily caught between worlds. The sunlight fractures on their faces, their shadows mingle with the colored reflections on the ground. It feels like walking through a rainbow, an entrance not just to the garden, but to a state of childlike joy. As the evening deepens, the garlands catch the last rays of day, turning them into sparks of firelight. The scent of herbs drifts up from the beds, mint, thyme, lavender, mingling with the coolness of dusk. The bottles, warm from the sun, release a faint creak as they cool, whispering secrets back to the night. There's a quiet lesson here, one the gardener knows by heart: beauty doesn't demand newness. It thrives in renewal, in care, in the act of giving forgotten things a voice. The pergola, once plain, now feels alive, its entrance transformed into a living artwork that sways with every breath of wind. When darkness finally comes, a small lamp behind the garland keeps the colors glowing faintly, like captured stars. And anyone who walks through it feels lighter, as if brushed by color, by air, by hope itself. Tucked into the quietest corner of the backyard, a simple border draws the eye, not because it is grand, but because it feels alive. Bamboo poles stand side by side with painted tin cans, forming a rustic rhythm of color and texture. What was once discarded now defines the garden's heart, marking the edge where soil meets rest, where order meets wildness. The bamboo, cut smooth and pale, catches sunlight like soft gold. Between them, the cans glow gently in their new coats of paint: sage, terracotta, cream, and blue, colors chosen to echo the earth and sky. Inside each can, life spills freely. Tiny marigolds wink like drops of sunlight, thyme and mint trail lazily over the rims, and sedum autumn joy blushes pink in the breeze. When the wind passes through the garden, the bamboo murmurs faintly, a hollow whisper blending with the hum of bees. The border doesn't just hold the soil, it holds a story. It tells of patience, of hands that see potential in what others overlook. Here, artistry grows not from wealth but from care, from the gentle belief that beauty belongs to those who make it. A weathered bench rests behind the border, facing a patch of flowers that never fail to bloom. The afternoon light falls through the pergola above, drawing patterns of gold across the painted tins. The scent of herbs drifts up, mingling with the warmth of the day. Every detail feels deliberate yet unplanned, shaped by both nature's will and human touch. As the sun sinks lower, the colors deepen. The bamboo glows honey brown, and the painted cans gleam softly, their reflections mingling with the flicker of lanterns. The garden corner becomes a haven, a meeting of the humble and the hopeful, where recycled metal and living green share the same breath. In the fading light, the border seems to hum a quiet truth: perfection is overrated, sincerity lasts longer. What matters is not how new something is, but how lovingly it's placed. By nightfall, the tiny garden feels complete, not finished, but alive. The bamboo and cans stand together, patient and grounded, holding the earth in gentle embrace, proof that with a little imagination, even boundaries can bloom.